What is going on, my freaky friends? This is your friend King Julian, standing here with a beautiful Honda CL500, which I tested for the whole week. Now is the time to return her back, but before I do that, let's recap this fun, adventurous week together, shall we?
2023 was a renaissance year for Honda, among others thanks to the new CL500. This new Scrambler strikes a rich retro vein with inspiration from the original CLs of the 60s and 70s. The development concept used for the CL500 project was Express Yourself. Deliberately targeting a young, style-conscious demographic, it's a bike designed to fit neatly into an owner's lifestyle with the ability to handle the daily commute, a long weekend ride, or even some light off-road, and to catch the eye while doing it. Simple, raw and tough. Those three words were chosen by Honda to best describe this new addition to their portfolio. Let's see how all of these statements stand the test of real-life experience though, and what life you can actually expect if you choose this exciting little Scrambler. The body of this beauty weighs 192 kg curb and is powered by a 471cc liquid-cooled parallel twin-cylinder engine. This produces peak power of 45.9 HP at 8,500 RPM and peak torque of 43.4 Nm at 6,250 RPM, which means the new CL is A2 compliant and it sounds like this. The hugely popular unit has made its reputation in Honda's CB and CBR 500 series and the CMX 500 Rebel. Specifically for the CL, it features revised fuel injection mapping and a new intake and exhaust setup. For faster acceleration through each gear, the rear sprocket uses 41 teeth versus 40 used by the Rebel. It further features unique ECU settings with short final drive gearing, which should serve dynamic acceleration both from a standing start and through the gears. The 6-speed gearbox is managed by slipper clutch. A Scrambler-style bike has to cope with it all, from rough city streets to uneven dirt roads, and so the goal for the chassis was to create light, responsive handling with suspension that can absorb the hits. Up front, 41mm telescopic forks feature 150mm travel and wear classic black fork gaiters. While adding period style, they also protect the legs and seals from dust and damage. At the rear, the long-stroke twin rear shock offers 145mm travel and 5-step spring preload adjustment. The front braking system consists of a single 310mm floating disc with 2-piston caliper, while at the rear we have a 240mm disc with single-piston caliper. The wheels are a 19-inch front and 17-inch rear combination for confident grip and light handling across varying terrain. Tires are deep groove Dunlop Mixtors. Rounded fuel tank offers 12-liter capacity, and according to the official spec sheet, the new CL should be able to reach average fuel consumption of 3.6 liters per 100 kilometers, which means more than 300 kilometers on one full tank. The electronics package is relatively modest. We have a dual-channel ABS, also optimized for varying terrain, full LED lighting system, a simplistic and straightforward LCD dash, and Honda Intelligent Security System. Finally, you can get this motorcycle in one of the following 4 color options. With height 177 cm, I can manage this bike's dimensions perfectly well. Seat height is 795 mm, which allows vast majority of riders to touch the ground with both feet flat. That is very convenient, especially for beginner riders. Now about the riding position, in my case it really took some getting used to.
The handlebar is for my taste a little too high maybe. I would definitely prefer it lower. It somehow messes with my posture and I don't like it.
I would prefer it about 4 centimeters lower. Because of this, my first ride experience was a torture. My arms were hanging off the handlebar in an awkward angle, which almost immediately resulted in shoulder pain followed by discomfort in lower back. Luckily, we got used to each other after all. All it took was some leaning back, which allowed me to stretch my arms while comfortably hanging off the handlebar. Other than this little issue, the handlebar is wide enough to ensure a great sense of control and stability, the stock seat is very comfortable even after hours on the road, and the footpeg position didn't cause me any trouble or discomfort whatsoever. The controls on this bike are as simple and straightforward as it gets, and all buttons are conveniently placed and easy to operate. Maybe just a little remark. If you're new to Honda, you might need to get used to the reversed position of horn and turn signal. The 6-speed gearbox is said to be designed to offer effortless changes, which should be further supported by the slipper clutch. My experience with it was a bit different though. I detest the clutch on this bike. The feel is perfect, super light, super comfy, but what I hate really is where it engages. I really had to stretch my fingers all the time, do the finger yoga, and it still wasn't enough. And then it was impossible to operate the clutch with 2 fingers only, as I'm used to, because I would need to press it all the way down to disconnect the wheels from the engine, really. This is only possible when using all 4 fingers, which unfortunately took away a bit from my overall fun with this bike. On the other hand, the price tag on this baby is so ridiculously low that it should easily allow you to save up some money for adjustable levers. Bam! Problem solved. Now, how about the Pillion Comfort, you ask? My charming passenger was more than happy with the long, spacious seat and comfortable position of passenger footpegs. On the less positive note, she couldn't reach the tank so easily and there are no rear handles for passenger, which made me the only thing she could hold on to while we were accelerating or braking. Luckily, this little issue didn't take away much of her excitement and our full-day trip was great fun in general. However, just between us, I would find the rear handles useful too, especially for manual maneuvering.
Now this is funny. It is very light, so you can really move it around manually without any bigger problems whatsoever. Oh shit, side stand, sorry. The thing is, there's no handle or nothing to hold on to. Also, the footpegs are a little weirdly positioned. I hit them pretty much all the time. Like when I want to put the stand up, see? Hit the peg. When I want to move the bike around, they're kind of dangerously big.
Speaking of the weird stuff, I have to mention this little nitpick. The ignition switch is exactly on the opposite side from the lock, which is cute but a bit unpractical. As I've mentioned before, the electronics package on this model has been stripped to the necessary minimum. A simple LCD dash, which doesn't even feature a rev counter, is already familiar from the Rebel 500, and I think it is perfectly suitable for this simple and raw bike. It shows speedometer, dual trip meters, fuel level and consumption gauge, clock, gear position and upshift indicator. Other than that, the LED lights work like a charm, and the powerful headlight will light up the whole road ahead of you beautifully during late night rides. What's also worth mentioning is that this bike comes with an emergency stop signal technology. A Scrambler should be pretty versatile by its very definition, which is something I can confirm in relation to the new CL500. Let's begin with the city experience. This bike is totally made for it. The engine offers enough power and torque for the typical urban riding, whether we talk about overtaking vehicles within legal limit or winning daily races on traffic lights. The bike is also compact enough to allow comfortable lane splitting and perfectly balanced for easy and intuitive maneuvering. Highway riding is not so pleasant though.
The wind protection is really second to none. Well, now at 130 km/h, more or less, I can feel the vibration in the footpegs and also down there, and it's not necessarily comfortable. There's no vibration, almost no vibration in the rearview mirrors though, which is very nice.
To be fair though, the problem with wind protection can be easily solved. What really adds to the overall versatility of this bike is the amount of functional accessories which are available as both original and aftermarket parts. This makes any customization a fairly simple task. For example, if you want a traveler, you can easily get a windshield, handguards, 12-volt USB socket, or luggage options such as side bag or a top case. Besides city life, you can have a great companion for commuting or full-day weekend trips, whether you ride alone or in two. I could even imagine a longer multi-day trip, though I would certainly avoid motorways as much as possible. As long as you keep the top speed around 100 km per hour, there is hardly anything to criticize about this machine, and your ride will be pure pleasure. Another very important plus point is the fuel economy.
I've been riding pretty much all day around the town to work, then to pick up stuff for Julia, then back from work home, and then to the team event and everything, and the fuel gauge is still showing me full tank, which is charming.
I easily managed to do 270 kilometers on one full tank, and I can tell you I was not holding myself back at all. The Honda specs don't lie, and I could totally imagine doing more than 300 kilometers on one full tank if I tried a little harder. The fact that I don't have to stop at every second gas station, despite the slim and rather modest fuel tank, is a very pleasant surprise. On our weekend trip, we also experienced mild off-road in the fields of Austria. Here we noticed a bit of disbalance between the front and the rear suspension, which caused the bike to rock quite noticeably. Guess it was my fault though. I should have played with the preload setting a bit more before taking a Pillion aboard. Of course, this off-road experience wasn't the only one, and I had to pass the traditional, more serious off-road challenge as well.
Alright, my freaky friends, shit is getting serious. Welcome to another off-road challenge at the Golden Sand Beach. This time with the one and only Honda CL500, our sexy Scrambler. Let's see how she performs. Okay, the first part of our challenge is gravel, and there is a lot of gravel. I don't know if you can see it, but this is really gravelly road. Can get quite slippery, but the tires on the CL500 are doing a great job, and I really have a great sense of stability and security, which is nice. I think this bike has a very slow rebound and a very soft suspension. I would probably want the suspension to be a little less bouncy, because you pass some little bump or a pothole and your bike is still bouncing like 1.5 or 2 seconds after. Possibly I could somehow fix it at least a little bit, but the most important thing is we passed the off-road challenge.
Other than that, I also tried quite a bit of wet riding against my will, and I can confidently say that the factory tires from Dunlop didn't fail me once during the whole test week. The only component that didn't entirely convince me is the front brake. I'd personally appreciate more braking power, especially on the Scrambler aimed for fun, which naturally includes dynamic and sporty riding. Don't get me wrong, The brakes definitely aren't terrible or dangerously weak, but still, my advice would be to rather test them before hitting the road with a Pillion and a fully loaded bike, just to get the feel and set realistic expectations. Finally, as an orthodox naked bike, the CL500 is quite easy and practical to maintain. Regular tasks such as oil change are easy to manage without having to disassemble half of the bike, which is always great. A lot of what we've already discussed suggests a strong fun element. The Peril twin-cylinder engine absolutely deserves its popularity.
I love the engine. I'm a big fan of the Honda 500 class. That's no secret. I've been familiar with this engine because I test rode the Rebel 500 before. But what's different here is this is a different bike. In this compact, versatile body, it does wonders really. I really love it. It's fun. It has enough power for the city. It has enough torque. As long as I'm sitting on the bike alone.
I would only add that with two people aboard, you can naturally feel the engine getting a little lazier. This can mostly be felt while accelerating from a standing start though, and other than that, the engine performance is pretty great. What I enjoyed the most though is the bike's performance in the turns. CL sits on the road so great and inspires endless confidence in me. The smooth performance is further supported by a light and smooth throttle, which is a good standard with all Honda bikes, though in this case it could use a little adjustment, just to eliminate that tiny bit of initial delay before it reacts. Design and style heavily contribute to the fun element as well, which is especially true in case of this little charming Scrambler. Though a lot of key components are already familiar from the Rebel, CL is still different enough to be honestly exciting. Apart from that, Honda really knocked it out of the park with the rich portfolio of design accessories, which allowed the owner to turn the base model into a completely different motorcycle. This will greatly appeal not only to the young riders, but really to anyone with sense of style and individual character. Raising efficiency in production by reusing as many components as possible throughout the product portfolio is a strategy which definitely has positive impact on the overall build quality, as well as reliability and the price tag. During my test week, I couldn't find a single physical imperfection on my test subject. Honda meets its higher standards again, and everything on the new CL sits in its right place. Nothing wiggles or bends, and nothing seems to be too fragile or too cheap. Bravo, dear Honda. Now let's talk about those who should consider this bike and those who should maybe look for a different alternative.
Now, who should get this bike? I would definitely say a beginner. It's lightweight. The engine is pretty powerful, so you won't get bored by it way too soon, as you would probably with a 250 or 300cc bike. You can hit the road and go for a full day trip. This bike will be a great companion, and also it's super stylish. It's a perfect option for a first bike. This bike could also be great for an experienced rider who had a couple of years of break and wants to get back to motorcycling, or wants to switch from a bigger and a more powerful bike to something smaller, simpler, something just to be happy and have fun every now and then. The only rider that should avoid this bike, really, in my opinion, is a passionate traveler. You have this beautiful Scrambler exhaust on the right side, which on the other hand prevents you from putting any luggage there, and is quite limiting for traveling, of course. It is great for commuting, it is great for a full day trip, but for a vacation, a proper vacation, plus a Pillion and fully loaded, you'll be lacking comfort and power. And that's it for today. I think we've covered every topic that should be interesting for you. If not, please do let me know in the comments down below. We can start a conversation, and see what we can figure out together.
There is undeniable beauty in simplicity, and the new Scrambler from Honda is just another shining proof of that. I'm gonna miss this little rascal very much, which is definitely a good sign. Before I go, I want to kindly ask you to please let me know your thoughts in the comment section, press that like button if you found this review useful, and subscribe to my channel if you wish to stay tuned for more adventures and motorcycle reviews. Thank you so much for your support. Please take good care of yourselves, your loved ones, ride safe, be safe, stay safe, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Cheers, bye bye.